Welcome back to Planet Coaster, and I'm continuing to build Drayton Manor. So for this one, I thought I'd try and start Thomasland. So for those who don't know, Drayton Manor has a child's area, like a lot of theme parks do these days. So like Alton Towers has CBeebies Land, Drayton Manor has Thomasland. Personally, I think it's freaking amazing. I actually really love Thomas Tank Engine, so I did spend a bit of time there when I was there, unashamedly. So yeah, it's really well themed. Every single ride is themed around Thomas the Tank Engine. It's beautiful. They have music blaring out, so yeah, it's really, really awesome. So this is the roller coaster they have, which I think is called Troublesome Trucks or Trailers. I can't remember. I should have googled it before, but I forgot. And this isn't the final build of it. I did edit it. You'll see me riding it later, and I did change it a little bit, make it a lot smoother, a lot friendlier, and actually not as tall or fast either. So I did change it in the end. But I just wanted to try and get it in so I could start building up the area. So this is actually meant to be a kiddie coaster, but I used the mine train sort of track just because I thought it would fit in better in the game. As I said, I'm not going for 100% sort of realism, I'm going for just something that looks kind of close to Drayton Manor, so it's recognisable, but also so that it looks really nice in the game. So I tested it a few times, it worked. But as you can see, it's a mess. So I had to go back and revise it a few times, but for now it was just about making sure it was in the area. So this is actually built right next to the Thomas Tank Engine Lights railway area, and this is the lowest I could get the station, so it had to be kind of elevated, which will affect how I kind of do the train station. So I've cut a bit out. As you can see, I moved them down a bit to try and make sure I get everything in. Basically, I don't think I planned this through enough. So it's got quite tough to actually fit in Thomasland in. Now, because there aren't that many sort of kiddie rides, I haven't actually put them all in anyway. So what we actually end up with is a few of the rides that will be in Thomasland, because those rides are incredibly small. Like, if you look at some of these, they're almost as big as Maelstrom, but actually a lot of the kiddie rides are tiny, like tiny little rides. So maybe I don't need all of them in anyway, you know. So this is me kind of just thinking, does this look like Thomasland? And yeah, it kind of does. Did have a quick look and see if there was any like generic buildings I could use in the area, but not really, so I'll have a look for them later. So I was then trying to think about how I could actually path out the park. So far there's not really been anything here, so I just went straight in with a massive grey slab. Now really pretty much all of the park is just pavement. Especially Thomasland, from what I remember, there's no actual like grass or anything there. It's pretty much just a giant slab of pavement. Don't think you can actually do that in this game, so I just kind of built an outline, trying to make it look reasonably okay. Again, using the Drayton Manor map online, which is in the description, as my sort of point of reference here, and also a bit of memory and a bit of YouTube, and it looks maybe okay. I know that like roller coaster is probably way too close to the front. It should be a bit further back, but I need to fit in other bits, so I just kind of had to go for it. Thomasland isn't really my main focus on here, although it is a very highly themed area. I can't theme it the same way that it is in real life, so I'm just kind of trying to make the best of it. I mean, like Shockwave, G-Force and that, they're going to be more important for me personally. Like that area, Action Park I think it was called, that's more important for me than Thomasland. So I think that was the last ride I did From what I remember. Now I just kind of went through and put entrances in and exits for all of the rides, just so that I knew they were there. This one is actually inside of a building, so I'll need to put a facade around this. So I just kind of thought I'll just shove the entrances underneath, because I know this area isn't right anyway. So I've just kind of bobbed it down, and there you go. That'll do as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't look great, but hopefully once I put a building around it and I get all the other buildings in the area, it won't look too bad. I'll have to just make sure that a lot of those buildings are quite low poly count, because wow, otherwise it's going to lag a lot. Especially when I finish Stormforce 10. So this ride actually has a really basic queue structure. You're basically just in a hangar. And it's quite bad for queue jumpers if you've not been. That's what I found out anyway. So I thought I'd actually just build this one, get it done out of the way, because the only other one I really have to do after that is in this area is Shockwave. So I built the queue. This doesn't look entirely accurate. From what I remember, the actual ride at Drayton Manor I think is actually slightly smaller than that one. And I haven't built anything for a long time, and just basically didn't do this right at all. And then I went back and just found a generic bit of sheeting and just kind of went from there. Didn't take me very long. It's also not the nicest looking, but the actual building there is just a hangar. Like literally that's all it is. It almost looks like a barn. So I didn't really have to go for too much. So this is a nice way for me to kind of get back into grips of how to actually build buildings, because I haven't done any for a long time on Planet Coaster. So I guess this was good practice at least. Yeah, it didn't take too long. I still think that Planet Coaster has a fantastic building creator, especially compared to like Planet Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, which if I remember correctly had a really laborious one. It's quite similar still, but it was just took a lot longer to do everything. So nearly done now. I know the walls in the bottom of the screen there are not great, but I'm just really lazy, so I've just left them. Okay, so I now had to try and do the pathing here, and I couldn't work out for ages why this wasn't working. So I put on all the collisions and I was like, nope, it's still not working. And it's because I was doing a exit and trying to use a queue. Now this bit looks hideous, but I do amend it later, so don't worry too much. I can't really remember the queue line too much at GeForce. I haven't been on it for about 4 years, maybe a bit longer than that. It's currently closed, so hopefully next time I go I'll be back. And this is the actual queue line itself. Because I put on all the no collision now, it's just going to clip through everything, but because it's in a building I don't actually care that much, so I'm just going to leave it if I'm really honest. I mean, it really doesn't bother me that much. It's like, it's in a building, I don't care. There we go. So it's now all outside. I think I actually do amend the staircase now. I think. Yeah. So this was basically about trying to make it match a bit better. It doesn't end perfectly. And this is basically me being incompetent with Planet Coaster. Planet Coaster is obviously fantastic. I'm just not good with it. As we've established many times, at building anything on Planet Coaster I'm not great. But I did eventually kind of get something that looks okay. I think it was on this attempt. So I was just trying to get the angle just right. And then boom. And I had to delete some of the other path and then make it hook round. And it does actually clip through. But to be honest, I was just like, this one, I was just like, it'll be fine. So just reconnected it all now. And put the queue back in. And we're all done. So I then decided to put the path around the Stormforce 10 bit. There is a building in the middle, I think it's a restaurant from what I remember. So I kind of just built it round. I remember the path like going both ways, and there's buildings in the middle. I think there's an arcade in the middle as well. So yeah, and then I tried to look at terrain, see if there was like brickwork I could put underneath, but there wasn't, so we left that. And then I decided to put down these Thomas things. So I remember there's a bit where you can walk around, they've got like 4 of them. And I tried to recolor this one manually, and it took forever. So I'm only going to show you a little bit. And then hopefully, if I remember, it will just cut straight to it being green, because this is layered up so much, it was a lot of work to actually recolor it. And there was no chance that I was going to change the number. So there you go, all green. It's all done. This is basically what I had to do to actually get all the hidden objects there, to actually make sure that they were all green. And I think I ended up leaving the wells because I was just like, I'm done now. So there we go, Thomas Land is looking a bit fuller now. And Drayton Manor as a whole is starting to look quite good. So we got all the pathing done by Stormforce 10, and I decided to build that little water wall. So this is literally after the first drop, there's just like walls either side of you, and it's just got waterfalls on it. So I thought I'd just start putting these in, because I thought, you know what, if I don't do them, I just won't do them. So tried to find the best thing to put down. I think I went for the medium water spout, and then I was going to put small ones in the middle and then go from there. To be honest, they aren't really the best in terms of how I put them down. I guess I should have pointed them down more. I guess I can go back and edit that later. But I just wanted to put something in there. You can get quite wet on this. The first time I went on it, it didn't, and then the second time we did, we got pretty soaked. So yeah, I guess they're okay to put in. So now I'm just, you know, arsing around a little bit to make sure I get them all in the right area. There we go. So I only did like 4 or 3 of them, just because I was like, I've got some done. If I forget to do them now, at least I've got some. And I think I went back and just renamed all the rides and started to put the entrances in. So I haven't built any of the buildings yet, but I thought, you know, if at least I get the pathways done, I can then build around them later. The only issue is on where I'm building right now, there is a lighthouse that's really steep. It's like got a steep bit of staring, and I can't do that in this, so I will just build around what I've got and just hope it looks okay. Now there's a shop for Stormforce 10 here. It is actually quite big, and it sells all sorts of weird stuff. There was like Star Wars stuff in there. It's really random. So I just thought I'd put a few shops down and just build a path there, and then I'll just build a building around it. From what I remember, there's quite a lot of glass like around it. I don't know, I'll find a picture, but either way, we'll build that later. I then went back and did the pathways for Shockwave. So this whole area is kind of put around like, I don't know if it's tropical disaster or just water related disasters, because like Maelstrom is kind of like a surf shack which is all worn down. Shockwave's pretty much the same, so I guess it's all water incidents, and they all have weird pathways, which is quite cool. So that's that bit done. And then the exit, if I'm really honest, I couldn't remember where the exit was, but I figured it was probably the other side, but I couldn't quite remember, so I just thought, that'll probably do. Now obviously there is one ride missing here, but that's the river rapids that are still shut after someone tragically lost their life there. But yeah, Alton Towers have pretty much the same ride, and that's still open, so that may be open again at some point, but right now it's not, so I've just left it out for now, so I don't see the point in putting it in. So it's just final touches. And I guess now we should go and have a ride on the kiddie coaster in Thomas Land. Now as you can see, I've smoothened this out a lot. I've changed the height of it a lot. I've tried to make it a bit more true to life, I guess, even though I know this is probably a lot bigger than the real world. But yeah, this is the last thing, so enjoy this, and I'll see you next time, and hopefully my life will be less of a mess, so I'll do more of these.